tuning in as well. Remember, just share the broadcast. Then we'll start. So this morning, in fact, yesterday, it was, announced that the former governor of Anambra State, Chris Ngige, well, we usually call him on Maiyegun's diary political, Okija Shatabandu. Now, Chris Ngige was the governor of Anambra State between 2003 to 2005 or so. However, he was appointed as Minister of Labor by Bokwari. So he served as Minister of Labor from 2015 to 2023. And on these guys, he's being, prosecuted for contract scam. Chris Ngige is accused of awarding contracts worth 2.2 billion naira, mostly to his own kind of like associates. He collected or received kickbacks that the EFCC is currently charging him for. So Chris Ngige appeared before a judge today, and the judge sent him straight to Ngige prison because they couldn't release him or grant his bail, because his bail application and all that is now scheduled for Monday. So what happened? Like, breaking it down, how did it get to that? There are speculations, by the way, of how he's been kind of like not in the same page with Tifnumbu. But I do not really see him as a political threat to Kolu in any guise. However, the crime he committed, right? As they explained that in their charges against him today, I will tell you a few of them, okay? But when it was brought to court today, just for hearing it is, before he got sent to Ngige prison. So earlier, Chris Ngige. Let's start with that.
Good morning. Go out to the country.
We need to sign you guys. Yeah. Okay. They didn't allow us to serve yesterday.
Now let's take a look at the charges against him. So according to the EFCC charges against Ngige, so he's accused of awarding 7 contracts worth over 366 million naira for consultancy training, and supply by the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, right, through them. So to a company called Sezimo Nigeria Limited, belonging to his own associates. Because like Wike said, if I don't give the land to my friends, do you want me to give it to my enemies? So, furthermore, he is also accused of awarding another 8 contracts worth over 383 million naira to another company belonging to Mr. Charles. His other associate is Ezebinwa Charles. So say Mr. Charles got another contract, which is that 583 million. So they accused him again, right, of awarding another 8 contracts worth over 362 million naira to another company called Jeff and Chris X-Rays Limited, belonging to one Mr. Nwosu Chukwuwike. So he is also accused to have allegedly awarded contracts under controversial circumstances, include Old English Consolidated Limited and Shell Atlantic Intercontinental Services Limited, belonging to one Uzoma Egbonwa, to the sum of 668 million naira. Now, as a minister, I don't think awarding contracts is real problems here, right? It is the kickback. So here, so they said it's violated section 19 of their corrupt practices and, ICPC law or something of 2000. Therefore, they accused him of collecting a kickback. Do you get me now? A kickback from one, the contract of that NSITF that they, gave the consultancy job to, what do you call his name? Mr. Charles, that one up there, right? So they said behind the scene, from that contract, the sum of 38 million naira, 38.6 million naira, right, was collected from Sezimo Nigeria Limited. Another 55 million naira from Zetacom Nigeria Limited, and another 26 million naira from Jeff and Chris Limited. EFCC accused him of that. So if you put all of that together, that means he collected, let's see. Meanwhile, he got some of this money donated, like they put the money through his foundation. Okay. His foundation is called Dr. Chris Nwabueze Ngige Campaign Organization. Man, that's a campaign organization. How is that a foundation? Anyway, so EFCC is charging him for collecting through, after giving them those contracts, right? He got a kickback through his foundation. If you put all of that together, 38.6 million, 55 million, that in itself should give us, let's see, 93.6 million, 96.3, then plus another 26 million. So that's 122.6 million naira. So that's how much he got back from that 2.2 billion naira contract. But some people are not buying it because Nigeria is a place where sometimes, the thieves are expected to thieve anyway. Politicians who are pretty much like thieves anyway. So their followers and their supporters expect it. So sometimes when you say somebody stole 130 million naira, to them, their supporters are like, yeah, it's going to be like an insult. What do you mean? Somebody who was governor, who was minister for 8 years, you are saying that he only collected 130 million naira bribe? Can't you see that this is actually politics? Yeah, I hope you have been hearing that already. Anyway, they haven't found Chris Ngige guilty of any of this. That is why it is allegedly. But there is no way you can look at all of these and somehow, you won't want to relate it to politics to some extent, right? Malamu, most of the ministers that worked, most of the people that worked for Bokwari and Bokwari himself, they were complete rogues. I am talking about total pillaging of the country. You feel me? that there is no single person that served with Bokwari, including Bokwari himself, that shouldn't be in jail ordinarily, including this Ngige. Now, the list is very long, but we all know that, like everything else, okay, their fight against corruption is always political, like everything, everything else, including their security, the insecurity in the country. But Nigerians have been so robbed that it is more like, there is a word for it too. It's kind of like odd, okay? When you see thieves, probing thieves, and it's practically not going to end anywhere anyway, okay? So you just take that as an entertainment. Adisirika was the Minister of Aviation under Bukwari. This dude sold a bobo to the whole country. Are you with me? Paid over 400,000 US dollars to a Bahrainian graphic designer to design a logo, called it Nigeria Air, and they sold it to the whole country. Educated people, businessmen, and they held sort of like a public symposium to describe the beauty of bringing back the national carrier for Nigeria, but it was actually a scam. Adisirika ended up, right, squeezing the Aviation Ministry of Nigeria of over 200 billion naira. You heard me right, too. Over 200 billion naira. He ran the scam so deep enough that they actually took loans to start Nigeria Air. In case if some of you probably didn't know that. Yeah, they took loan. $500 million to set up the Nigerian Air takeoff. That never seen the light of the day. Not a single building, not a website, nothing to indicate that they're actually setting up a national carrier. No, it was all scam. But they sold it anyway. People bought it. APC, Adisirika ended up building himself a palace-like mansion in his own state, where he is aspiring to one day become their governor too. Another person, well, when Tifnubu came in, they said, according to the role Adisirika played in the Bokwari's kitchen cabinet, the Kabah that time, so he was seen as one of those against the Tifnubu's presidential ambition. So he had to pay. Same as, the former central bank governor, Emefiole. So Adisirika was, invited, possibly not arrested, invited. And then he was arraigned. This was last year. And that was the first and the last time we saw Adisirika in any court. Right? They accused him of mismanaging over 50-something billion naira. He was a minister. Another one who is also a notorious criminal is, the former Minister of Injustice. That's what I love to call him. Malamu, Abubakar Malamu, in Yoruba, the Attorney General of Nigeria, the deceiver, a criminal, a crook. I've told you about him a lot of times, right? However, even though they were all in the same APC, Kolu didn't have to struggle to find debt on them because, Abacha loot that was returned back to Nigeria got relooted again. That nobody can actually say this is what they use over $4 billion of Abacha loot returned in a space of 8 years of Bokwari. Nobody could say what they used the money for. Do you understand? But there were those who made their own cut, a lot of it, a chunk of it. Me, I have said it on this platform, on this program, many, many times, countless of times. Okay? However, the EFCC has invited him again because he has left the APC to go and join them in the coalition, ADC. He wants to be the governor of Kebbi State in 2027. This is a guy that was just a roadside charge and bail lawyer as at 2014. But yeah, as one of the brightest from northern part of Nigeria, loyal to Bokwari from their CPC old days. You know, CPC is the same as Boko Haram, yeah? No, you don't? I'm not going to be explaining further, but just so you know, anyway. So yeah, those guys are the fanatics, the parts, all right? So in the name of Allah, in the name of religion and the rest of that, okay? They managed to join the team Bokuwari. But he was a thief, a conk thief. That ordinarily, if Sharia be says Sharia, they really kind of like deal with criminals. Most of the political leaders from northern part of Nigeria would have become amputees by now. They would have amputated their two hands. And they said, if you thief in Sharia, they amputate your hand from here. If you steal again, they amputate the second one. When you now turn to, what do you call it? Mekuturu. That Mekuturu, if you are accused of stealing again, they will cut it here. So from wrist to short sleeve, they will cut you again. That's what Sharia said. If they accuse you of stealing again, how would you steal again? Where is the hand? They will cut you from here again. If anybody accuses you of stealing again, at that point, they would have to cut your two legs. I think that's what Sharia said. It didn't say they should kill you. But guess what? The career criminals, political criminals who are also going to Mecca. Every year, these guys will go to Mecca twice, but they were robbing Nigeria blind. If they feel me, if they begin to put together the atrocities of Malamu, it should be charged for treason. The same guy that gave the fraudulent intel, fake intel to Kenya in order to kidnap Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, right? He is actually a crook. Presently, he is being linked to Boko Haram sponsors as well. Over 47 bank accounts were traced back to him in the case of trying to probe how the money they looted Abacha, returned Abacha loot. How did they loot that money again, right? So right now he's standing, he's kind of under investigation. They've pulled him up twice. EFCC called him, DSS called him. All of this to show, their investigation pointing him to, one or two things that have actually harmed Nigeria, like seriously harmed Nigeria. Now, politically, they are going to tell you that Tinubu is hunting them. On this particular one, even though I believe that when thieves goes after thieves, it is just to our own entertainment, just for our entertainment. There won't be any real justice. You should know that. You should know better. And if you don't, I possibly can't help you. Okay? But for the period, for the educational purposes, right? You get to know these criminals, what they did, and how what they did actually affected Nigeria. Yeah, and what affects Nigeria affects millions of those who are identified as Nigerians, right? So yeah, they were pulled up, but he's yet to be charged. Okay, and the list goes on. The current Minister of Aviation, that is Frostos Keyamo. Frostos Keyamo was at a point junior minister to Chris Ngige. Yeah, in the Ministry of Labor. Keyamo was a junior minister to the Labor Minister. They used that word junior. Like you say, Minister of Labor, Minister of State Labor. You get that now? So they kind of categorize that as junior, senior. Under this one is actually a very huge scam. More than 2.2 billion naira, by the way. I'm not excusing the criminality of this guy. By the way, Frostos Keyamo pulled a last-minute stunt, in case if you're forgotten. By now, you should have been seeing at least 700. Listen again, 774,000 Nigerians cleaning the streets, clearing the drainages, emptying the trash cans, and ensuring the environment stays so clean. That was Keyamo's project. You remember now? Of course you remember. He did that just between 2021, 2022, and 2023. That he actually cashed out more than 40 billion naira. And I didn't make that up. So let's break it down. Fraudster Keyamo, the stunt he put was that he was going to employ 1,000 youth in every local government. And Nigeria have 774 local government areas. Multiply that by 1,000. Don't flex. Don't fret. That is a 774,000 jobs. So, Keyamo then bought some wheelbarrows some cutlasses, machetes, rakes, and some packers to do road show. I put it through their supposed budget, and money was released. So that was why they went on the road show. Took some pictures, cut some grass here and there. You get